Ever get that feeling like society's trying to push you into a certain mold?
Oh, yeah.
Like there's only one right way to think or one right way to live?
Mm-hmm.
Well, today's deep dive explores a different kind of blueprint.
Right.
A divine one.
Okay.
We're taking a look at Craig Ferguson's book.
Yeah.
God's blueprint for kingdom expansion in you. And let me tell you, this is not your typical spiritual self-help book.
No, it's not.
It's not.
What makes this book so compelling, I think, is how Ferguson takes these biblical principles and he uses them as like a framework for understanding personal growth, yes, but also for creating positive change in the wider world.
Yeah, it like hooked me too.
It's about tapping into a power that's often like lying dormant within us, not just within individuals, but within entire communities.
And Ferguson himself is a fascinating mix.
Oh, he is.
He's been super successful in the business and tech world, but he's also deeply spiritual.
Exactly.
It adds this layer of, I don't know, credibility.
Yeah, I think so.
Like this guy's walked the walk in multiple worlds.
He has.
And in this book, he's really pushing readers to think critically about their relationship with God.
Yeah.
But he does it in a way that even folks who aren't particularly religious can connect with.
Yeah, he does it in a way that's very accessible, I think, to a lot of people.
Totally.
And he does this by using the story of King David as a powerful analogy for how we can shift from a servant mindset to a kingly one.
I like that.
But hold on.
Okay.
Before you think we're talking about literal crowns and thrones, remember, it's more about realizing the potential that often lies dormant within each of us.
Yeah, so it's like we've been handed this servant script, told to play a certain role, and Ferguson's saying, hey, you could rip that script up.
Yeah, tear it up.
There's a whole different story.
Write your own?
You could be writing. Yes. And that's where he introduces this idea of mind control.
Oh, yeah.
Which is where things get really juicy.
That's where it gets good.
He uses all this symbolism from the Bible.
Okay.
The Philistines.
Yeah.
The Moabites. Even figures like Hadadzer, Rehob, and Zobah. They all represent forces that are trying to, control us.
Yes.
Limit us in some way.
Limit us.
Yeah, it's about recognizing those influences.
Exactly.
Both the internal and the external ones.
Yeah.
That prevent us from living our purpose.
Right. And so, for example, Ferguson uses the Philistines to symbolize self-indulgence. Those things we crave or cling to that end up keeping us stuck.
Oh, yeah.
So think about your own life for a second.
Yeah.
Are there any habits or indulgences that are holding you back from reaching your full potential?
That's a good question.
Maybe it's that late night social media scroll, or maybe it's
Or maybe it's those extra scoops of ice cream.
Ooh.
I know I've got my own Philistines to contend with.
We all do.
That's for sure.
We all do.
Yeah.
And then you've got the Moabites.
Okay.
Who represent manipulation and deceit. Maybe even those patterns we've inherited from our families.
Yeah.
Or past experiences.
Oh, wow.
It's fascinating how these ancient stories can still resonate so powerfully today.
It's like we're still fighting those same battles, just in different forms.
We are.
Yeah. But what I found really striking was how Ferguson connects this to the story of David and Goliath.
Yeah.
It's like he's saying that if we change our perspective, if we tap into that kingly mindset, we can overcome obstacles that seem insurmountable.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
What do you think?
It's a brilliant parallel.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that our limitations are often self-imposed based on fear and a limited view of what's possible.
Right.
If we can shift our perspective, see ourselves as capable and empowered, we can slay our own metaphorical giants.
And to really drive this point home, Ferguson brings in these specific numbers. 1,700 and 20,000.
Okay.
And explains their significance in Hebrew texts.
And this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
He's not just throwing random numbers around.
Right.
He's using them to make a powerful point.
Okay, I like it.
1,700 in this context represents the limitations we often accept. The systems, the mindsets, the shoulds and shouldn'ts that keep us playing small.
Yeah.
But 20,000 represents the abundance that's available to us if we break free the resources, the opportunities, the limitless potential that's waiting to be tapped.
So it's like we've been given a map to a treasure.
Yes.
But we're so fixated on the supposed obstacles that we never even start the journey.
Exactly. We never even leave the house.
And this idea of limitations versus abundance, it really gets highlighted when Ferguson talks about brass being a counterfeit for gold.
Oh, interesting.
It's almost like we've settled for the fake stuff.
Right.
When the real deal is right there within our reach.
Right there in front of us.
What are your thoughts on that?
It's fascinating here how Ferguson links this concept to the idea of taking authority in the economic realm.
Okay.
He's not just talking about getting rich.
Right.
It's about understanding the spiritual principles behind wealth and abundance.
Yeah.
And how those can be used to further a greater purpose.
I like that.
It's about recognizing that we don't have to be limited by financial systems or material temptations.
Yeah.
We have the power to create a different reality, one that's based on abundance and generosity.
Right.
But, and this is crucial, it's not a solo mission.
You're right, it's not. And Ferguson makes that really clear, emphasizing the importance of working together, just like David did with his diverse team of leaders.
Exactly. It's about recognizing our interdependence and leveraging our unique strengths to create something much greater than ourselves. It's about community, collaboration,
Right.
realizing that we don't have to do it all alone.
And this leads us to the theme of reconciliation and restoration,
Okay.
which Ferguson suggests is possible even at a DNA level.
Wow.
That really blew my mind.
Yeah.
He references Romans 8.28,
Okay.
which talks about how God works all things together for good, even the tough stuff, for those who love him.
Yeah.
It's a message of hope, of healing, of the possibility of breaking free from those negative patterns that might feel ingrained in us.
It is. It's powerful.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here.
I know, right?
From mind control and symbolism to economic empowerment and the power of community. It's like Ferguson's given us a whole new lens through which to view our lives and our potential.
And what's remarkable is how he weaves these seemingly disparate concepts into a cohesive framework for understanding our place in a much larger narrative.
Yeah.
It's not just about self-improvement. It's about stepping into a kingly role, a position of authority and influence, and using that to create positive change in the world.
Absolutely. It's a call to action, a challenge to step up and co-create a better future. And that's something I think we could all get behind. But there's so much more to unpack. We'll dive deeper into God's blueprint for kingdom expansion in you right after this.
Welcome back. You know, as we're exploring this idea of a divine blueprint for our lives, it's striking how Ferguson keeps coming back to the importance of leadership.
Yeah.
But it's not the kind of leadership we often see in the world today.
Right.
It's specifically modeled after King David and how he led his people.
You hit the nail on the head.
Really?
It's not about power or control.
No.
It's about serving something bigger than yourself and empowering others to do the same.
Yeah.
And one of the things Ferguson points out is how David surrounded himself with this incredibly diverse team of leaders.
Yes.
Each with their own unique skills and perspectives.
Exactly. Think about Joab.
Yeah.
The skilled military strategist.
Right.
Who wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty.
Yeah.
Then there's Jehoshaphat.
Okay.
Meticulous and detail-oriented, keeping everything running smoothly behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And don't forget Zadok and Abiathar.
Right.
The wise priests offering spiritual guidance and counsel.
Oh, wow.
It's a remarkable team.
It really is. And for those of you listening, think about the teams you're a part of at work, in your communities, even in your families.
Right.
Are you recognizing and appreciating the different strengths each person brings to the table?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because that's what building a kingdom is all about.
Yeah.
Whether it's a business,
Could be.
a movement, or even just creating a fulfilling life.
Yeah.
It requires collaboration and recognizing the strengths of those around you.
That's such a powerful point.
Yeah.
And it's about creating a culture of mutual respect and support.
Right.
Where everyone feels valued and empowered to contribute their best.
Totally.
That's true leadership.
Yeah.
And it echoes what Ferguson is saying about tapping into that kingly potential within each of us.
It's not just about leading others, though, right? It's about leading ourselves first.
Yeah.
Making those tough choices.
Yeah.
And staying true to our values.
Absolutely.
And that's where I found the symbolism of the gifts King David received after his victories so fascinating.
Okay.
He was given silver, gold, and brass.
Right.
And each of these metals, as Ferguson explains, carries a much deeper meaning.
Absolutely. Remember how we talked about brass representing those counterfeit lights, those material temptations?
Right.
Well, silver represents our longings and desires, those things we crave.
Okay.
While gold signifies true illumination.
Okay.
Genuine glory.
Right.
aligning with a higher purpose.
So it's like David, fresh from these victories,
Yes.
is being presented with a choice.
He is.
He can be consumed by his desires,
Mm-hmm.
chase after superficial glory, or he can choose to focus on the true light,
Right.
the purpose that God has for him.
That's right.
It's a decision we all face in different ways, wouldn't you say?
Every single day.
Yeah.
And David, of course, chooses to dedicate these treasures to the Lord,
Right.
Demonstrating his commitment to serve in something bigger than himself.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that true fulfillment doesn't come from chasing fleeting desires or external validation.
Mm-hmm.
It comes from aligning ourselves with something that transcends our own ego.
Speaking of transcendent things,
Yeah.
there's this other concept Ferguson brings up
Yeah.
that I found really intriguing.
Okay.
The gold body covers. It sounds pretty intense.
Yeah.
Can you shed some light on that for us?
Of course, it's one of those moments where you realize you can't just skim the surface of the text.
Yeah.
The Hebrew word for shields in this context actually has a much deeper meaning.
Okay.
Relates to governance,
Yeah.
dominion,
Mhm.
the act of bestowing power.
Oh,
So these gold body covers weren't just about wealth.
Yeah.
They were about projecting an image of authority.
So it's like those who wear these gold body covers are trying to create a perception of greatness.
Yes.
Even if it's not genuine.
It's like a facade, smoke and mirrors.
Right.
And it ties back to that idea of the counterfeit light
Yeah.
that brass represents.
It does.
Instead of focusing on inner strength and authenticity,
Mm-hmm.
they're relying on outward displays of power and wealth.
True authority comes from within,
Okay.
from aligning ourselves with God's will,
Right.
not from these external displays.
Right.
And I think it's a reminder for all of us to be discerning,
Yeah.
to look beyond the surface
Mm-hmm.
and question those who are projecting an image
Yeah.
that might not align with their actions.
Now, hold on a second. Isn't there a danger in dismissing all displays of wealth or success as being superficial?
Oh, that's a good question.
What about those who use their resources to make a positive impact?
Right.
Are they automatically suspect because they have gold body covers, so to speak?
That's a great question. And I think it's important to make a distinction here.
Yeah.
Ferguson isn't saying that wealth or success are inherently bad.
He's cautioning against the trap of equating those things with true worth or spiritual authority.
Mm-hmm.
It's about being aware of the motivations behind the actions.
Okay.
Are they coming from a place of genuine service?
Right.
Or are they driven by ego and a desire for control?
Yeah.
That's the key.
I appreciate that clarification because I was starting to get a bit cynical there for a moment.
Right.
But you're right. It's about looking at the bigger picture
Yeah.
and discerning the intent behind the actions.
And remember, Ferguson reminds us that God intends for us to experience true wealth and abundance,
Right.
but it's not about hoarding or using it for selfish gain.
It's about stewardship,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Using our resources, whatever they may be, to make a positive impact on the world.
Yeah.
And to further God's plan, whether those resources are financial or maybe it's your time, your skills, your influence.
Exactly. It's about understanding that true wealth encompasses so much more than just material possessions.
Right.
It includes our relationships, our health, our talents, and our ability to contribute to something larger than ourselves.
So in a way, Ferguson is challenging us to redefine what it means to be rich and successful.
He is.
It's not just about the size of your bank account.
Right.
It's about the depth of your impact and your commitment to serving something greater.
It's a powerful shift in perspective, isn't it?
It is.
Moving from accumulation to contribution.
Right.
From self-interest to service.
Yeah.
And that's a message that resonates deeply with me.
Me too. And it ties back to that idea of breaking free from those societal scripts we talked about earlier.
Yes.
We're not just cogs in a machine.
We're not.
We're co-creators of a reality that's far more expansive than we often realize.
Absolutely.
But there's one more piece of the puzzle that I think we need to explore further. We've talked about breaking free from limited beliefs and embracing our potential and even redefine what it means to be rich. But there's this other thread running through Ferguson's book that really struck a chord with me, this idea of reconciliation and restoration. Not just on a personal level,
Right.
but even at a DNA level.
It's a profound concept, isn't it?
It is.
He's suggesting that even the things we've inherited,
Right.
whether it's negative patterns, limited beliefs, or even physical predispositions,
Yeah.
can be transformed through a connection with the divine.
Yes.
It's like he's offering a path to healing that goes beyond what we traditionally think of as possible.
Exactly. It really resonated with me because I've always been fascinated by the idea that our experiences, even our ancestors' experiences, can leave a mark on us.
Right.
But Ferguson is saying, we're not bound by that.
We're not.
We have the power to rewrite the script, to break free from those chains and step into a new reality.
He's drawn on that powerful verse from Romans 8:28.
Yeah.
All things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose.
Right.
It's a message of hope, of redemption, of the possibility of turning even the most challenging circumstances into opportunities for growth and transformation.
That's so powerful. And I think it speaks to that deep human longing we all have for wholeness,
right,
for healing,
right, yeah,
for feeling truly connected to something greater than ourselves.
We do.
And it ties back to that idea of embracing our kingly potential, doesn't it?
It does.
It's about taking authority not just over our external circumstances, but over our internal world as well.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that true power doesn't come from dominating others or accumulating wealth. It comes from mastering ourselves.
Right.
From aligning with that divine blueprint and becoming the best version of who we were created to be.
This has been such an incredible deep dive.
It has.
I feel like God's blueprint for kingdom expansion in you has given us a whole new framework for understanding our lives and our potential.
Yeah.
It's not just about personal growth. It's about becoming conscious co-creators of a better world.
And it's about remembering that we don't have to do it alone.
Yeah.
Just like King David surrounded himself with a diverse team of leaders, we can find strength and support in our communities, in our relationships, and ultimately in our connection with the divine.
So as we wrap things up,
okay,
what's one key takeaway you hope our listeners will walk away with?
I hope they'll remember that each of us has a unique and valuable role to play in this grand unfolding of creation.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing the gold body covers or the brass that might be obscuring our true potential and having the courage to dismantle those limiting beliefs and influences. It's about embracing the fullness of who we were created to be and stepping into our kingly or queenly roles as agents of positive change.
And that starts by asking ourselves some tough questions.
Yes, it does.
What gifts and talents have we been given? What are we truly passionate about?
Yeah.
How can we use our unique strengths to make a difference in the world?
Right.
And how can we align our lives with a purpose that's bigger than ourselves?
Those are powerful questions, and I encourage everyone listening to spend some time reflecting on them. Your answers might surprise you.
This deep dive has given us so much to think about.
It has.
And I have a feeling this conversation is just getting started.
I agree. And if you're looking for more inspiration and guidance on this journey of personal and collective transformation, I highly recommend checking out Craig Ferguson's other books. Yeah. He's a gifted writer and teacher, and his work offers a wealth of wisdom and insight.
Absolutely. And be sure to let us know what resonated with you from this deep dive. You can connect with us on social media using the hashtag Kingdom Blueprint. We'd like to hear your thoughts until next time. Keep seeking, keep learning, and keep diving deep.